He had more tells than a busted Cheeto. Welcome to the Mouthpiece, part 2 of episode 2. Today we're going to talk about my World Series of Poker main events, my deep runs, and then afterwards we're going to talk about the man who had a deep run and won it, a world champion, John Cynn. 2002 was really kind of insane, coming off the big final table of 01, knowing I'm still the best no-limit player in the world as far as I was concerned. I went on this huge heater in the first round, and I had 26,775 chips, and we're just going into level 2. So I had almost tripled up, started with 10,000 in chips, and we start at quarter 50 first level, 50 and 100 second level, 75, 150 third level, 100, 200 fourth level, and that's day 1, no ante. Okay, so the antes never went in until day 2. We're just starting level 2, 50 and 100. I have 270 big blinds. I mean, you start the tournament quarter 50 with 100 big blinds, 2-hour levels. So, you know, when people like whine about they don't get enough chips or enough blinds nowadays, this is what we started with. Guy comes, sits down. He's standing up. He pulls over to my immediate left, and he's got all these chips. And I'm like, how could anybody have more chips than me? I mean, I had almost tripled up in the main event. You got to remember, people were tight back then. They weren't like giving away chips. So to have over 2.5 starting stack in 2 hours was just unbelievable. And this guy's he hasn't even counted his chips. So I'm thinking to myself, man, he might have more chips than me. I'm like, this is unbelievable. So he's standing, unracking his chips, and I look down. I got 2 aces. I raise, and this guy 3-bets me. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God. Because back then, like I told you, like people are 3-betting. They're not 3-betting light. I mean, the only people 3-betting light were the people I named. So I'm like, God, this guy's got a big hand. I mean, can he possibly have kings? You know what I mean? So he 3-bets me, and I'm like, just salivating because this guy's got as many chips as me, not more. So I looked down and I 4-bet him. I sized it up pretty good. I made a big 4-bet, and he 5-bet shoves, and I snap call him, and he looks at me and says, "You got 2 aces?" And I looked at him and said, "No, I got deuce 7 offsuit." Well, what else do you think I got? I mean, like, this is the only guy in the that I turn. It ends up he has 200 chips more than me. So I'm going to have, if I win this hand, 54,000 at 50 and 100 blinds. That's 540 blinds, no ante, and I'm the best player. I mean, I win this hand, I'm going back to the final table back to back. This is like 100% impossible. I don't. So of course, I have 2 aces. I turn off aces. He has kings. Comes 3 stiffs on the flop, stiff on the turn, king on the river. And I'm out of the tournament on 2 hours and 10 minutes in on day 1 of the main event. It's one of the only like 2 times I've ever been knocked out of day 1 of the main event. I really wasn't that upset. I kind of laughed, really, because like I always, after that hand, I always think about what could have been, because coming off the final table in 01 where I should have won, I fucking gave it away to Carlos, and now 02 having all those chips early and then picking up aces against kings, and I got broken 02. That was that. The 03 tournament, I really don't recall the 03. I don't remember getting much traction, but I was deep just from my skills alone. Me and Seidel were real close at the time. We went to this little Korean place around right by the horseshoe, and we're all eating, and I'm like, can you believe another idiot's going to win the World Series? This is like when Moneymaker was like at the final table, and they're like four-handed, and he's got all the chips, and this is after like Phil Ivey finished 10th when the 3 9s versus the ace queen. I just remember that hand. Ivey got completely coolered against Moneymaker. He got all of Ivey's chips, and then Seidel said to me, "Don't worry, Mikey." He goes, "You want this guy to win. If this guy wins the World Series, you're going to be so wealthy you won't know what to do with all your money." I'm like, "You think so?" He goes, "I know so." And because his name was Moneymaker. Can you imagine a guy named Moneymaker winning a tournament on a satellite and then winning the main event at the World Series? I mean, it was just like shit you could make up in Hollywood. I mean, it's just surreal. And so Moneymaker wins the World Series, and lo and behold, that statement that Seidel made was right. I mean, poker blew up. I was a superstar in poker. 04 was the year that I was dominating. I've told this story many times. I was playing that main event, and there was me and one other person that knew that I was going to jail in 3 months for something I didn't do, that I got set up by Dr. Keon Cavey, my doctor, to get this guy drugs. I'm playing this tournament for my life. I'm like, okay, if I'm going to jail, I'm going to jail with $2.5 million in my pocket, because the World Series blew up. There was like a Moneymaker year was like 808. In 2004, we had 2,500. So we are deep in the tournament. You all remember the ESPN here where I looked at Greg Raymer and says, "I got big cojones, you got little cojones, get the fuck out of my way." And that was basically, we had this incredible table that we were able to pick apart. And I was, back then, good players understood other good players. You don't want to take advantage of the table and just keep robbing everybody. You want to just, I rob, you rob, I rob, you rob, I rob, you rob. And we kind of work the table together. We stay out of each other's way. But Greg kept coming after me. And that's when you heard me say that. If you keep coming after me, I'm going to bust you. And I told him that. That was like, the cojones hand. And he tried to rob me a big pot, and I just re-raised him all in with like 5 high, because I had a tell on him too. When he put his glasses on and looked straight at you, it was like ace jack, ace queen. When he put his glasses on and looked a little bit to the right and raised, it was like ace king. When he had his glasses, I can't explain it, but it was all about sizing and little tells that I used to always pick up. So I told him I'd bust him, he got his ways. But we ended up working the table. He pretty much stayed out of my way after that. He wanted to beat me so bad after I put that statement out there. I'll never forget this. With about 85 people left, 86 people left, I was the chip leader. Greg Raymer was second in chips, maybe third. I was cruising, and I'm just like, I was so focused. If I was going to go to jail 6 months for something I didn't do, I was going to jail with $2.5 million in my fucking pocket. It was going to be a lot easier to sleep at nighttime in jail knowing I had a couple million in my pocket. So, I was playing for my life. There came the big hand that kind of crushes me, that you guys have seen many times, and probably on the World Series poker coverage. If you haven't, you should YouTube it. But I raised. Greg Raymer re-raised me big. Like 10x'd it, and put his glasses on a certain way, and I said, he's got ace jack. 100% he's got ace jack. I'm positive he has ace jack, right? And I had 7-9 of spades. I said it could be ace queen, but I know it's ace jack, right? When he raised me real big, I look at him and I said, I'm not making this mistake I made against fucking Carlos in 01. So I said, I'm going to call this 10x re-raise with like 7-9. And if it doesn't come an ace or a jack, I'm just going to take the pot from him, high position on him, right? I called the re-raise. The flop come 10-9 deuce with 2 diamonds. And he looks at me and he moves all in. And I'm just like, wow, right? And I just know he's got ace jack. I just know it. I mean, I don't know how to tell you this, but like back in the, I can't keep saying it enough, but you just knew when they had a real hand and when they didn't have a real hand. And I'm just like, do not fold this hand, Mike. You've got second pair. You can't do what you did against Carlos. I'm like, you can't make the mistake. You had a tell against Carlos. You didn't follow through. It cost you the World Series championship. You can't let it happen again. And, ESPN kind of like pushed it all together, but this hand lasted like 5 minutes. And I'm like, I know you got shit. I know you got shit. I go, and I was just like, I'm like, please, God, don't let me be wrong. Please, God, don't let me be wrong. Please. And I told myself, there's no way I'm folding. Please, God. But I still had to talk myself into calling because we're like the two biggest chip leaders. And so I said, I looked him right in the eye and I said, I told you I'm going to bust you. And I know you got ace jack. And I said, I call. And I call and he turns over ace jack. And I'm like, yes. But he had ace jack of diamonds, and there's 2 diamonds on the board, and I'm like, oh my God. And now I'm in a panic mode. I'm like, oh my God, the read, everything was perfect. And I'm like, oh my God, you followed through exactly what you saw, just like an 0-1. I'm like, just don't let me get unlucky. And back then there was not math run sims about what beats what and what the math was, and 15 outs twice. I just knew, like, when you had somebody beat, you just put it in and that was it. You know what I mean? I wish I didn't learn all the math and shit about poker because it made me a lot worse poker player instead of fucking playing by feel. But as soon as I saw the ace jack of diamonds, I'm just like, God, don't let me get unlucky. Please don't let me get unlucky. Not against this guy, And the fucking diamond came right on the turn, and and you could just see how much he wanted to beat me. And I was like, I was pretty devastated, but I still had 150,000 chips. I started the hand with like 1 million chips. I mean, average was like 170. So just to give you an idea of how many chips me and Raymer had at the time. And that hand propels him to winning the world championship in 04. I win that hand. There's not a doubt in my mind. I end up winning the world championship in 04. So, but I lose the hand. I still have 150. I'm great at maneuvering. I maneuver my chips up a lot, and then came my bust out hand where Raymer raised, the guy re-raised 3, and I had ace king, and I just knew the way the guy re-raised it was really fast, so I knew it wasn't a big pair. And so then I 4-bet shoved. Raymer folded, and reluctantly, he had 2 8s, and that was his favorite hand. He hated folding. The other guy's like, oh, man, he goes, I got too much in here. I don't know if I could fold, and blah, blah. And he talks himself into calling. He has ace queen. Comes 3 stiffs, stiff on the turn, queen on the river. You've seen this on ESPN many times. I was out of the tournament. I was crying. And people were like, oh, how do you cry on national TV? And then they just never understood that I cried because now I'm going to jail broke. I was putting my whole life was about winning this tournament. I put everything into winning this tournament. So, I was pretty depressed. So that was 04. So we're going to 05 event. I get out of jail. A lot of people came to visit me in jail. A lot of top poker players. Really warm feeling. They knew I was there for something I didn't do or whatever. I got out, and the whole time I was in jail, the only thing I thought about was getting out of jail and vindicating myself and winning the World Series. That's it. I didn't care how many players there were. I was going to win the World Series in 05. That's all I thought about when I was in jail. So I was struggling with depression. I had gotten off my antidepressants that I was on while I was in jail because just to be able to cope with being there. And then once I got down there, had a good day 1, and went into day 2, and now it was really crazy. But the depression that I had, all of a sudden I got back because I'd gotten back on the meds about 3 weeks earlier. It took me like the whole World Series of 05 from getting off of it and getting back on them for them to get back in my system. It took like 3.5 weeks. So they finally got it back on my system like day 2. It seemed like of the main event, and I was like super focused. I struggled using Ritalin. When I took it, it made me like for 2 days play great, but like the third day it would whack me out. So I said, I'm not taking anything till I get to day 3 of the main event, and then I'll take a couple Ritalins to help me focus, because I was kind of like brain dead from all the drugs I did in 01 and 02, and you guys have all heard about that, but that's for another show. So 05 main event, I had raised with 2 3s, and I was real aggressive. I was raising a lot of hands. Guy re-raised me. I was pretty sure I picked up something on him, but I wasn't positive. But, you know, you got to go with your read and your gut. And I 4-bet him all in with 2 3s. He snap called me with queens. I would have been out of the tournament. Instead, I hit a 3, and I end up, the rest is history. As you know, I end up making the final table. It was the only time that whole tournament or that I ever got it in bad. It was the only time for 6 years I ever got it in bad, and you know, I sucked out. That was good. And that was key hand 05. Another key hand was about 3 tables to go, me and Fred Bonyadi. Freddy raised the button, and I had 1.2 million in chips. He had like 1.1. I was like chip leader. He was like second. I 3-bet him big. He called. I had 7 deuce off. Flop came queen 10 5. And I bet real big. He called. Oh no, turn card came a deuce to give me a pair of deuces. That's right. He flop came queen 10, king 10, whatever. He had ace king or whatever. That's what it was. And the club on the river, and I moved all in. So I 3-bet him, bet flop, bet turn, all in on the river. And it was for his tournament life, and I'm the only one that could hurt him in the whole tournament. And you got to remember, before 2006, when Card Player decided to teach everybody bet sizing, which is the only thing you could never, ever give out, no limit hold'em. You can give out anything you wanted to give out. You could just throw out all the bullshit. Hey, I know this about no limit, this. But the only thing that really mattered was bet sizing, because that's how the good players got to tell off of what other people had by how they put their chips in the pot. So, and I move all in. He's in the tank for like 5 minutes, right? And he's like, "We show me if I fold," and I'm just like, "If you want to, yeah, I'll show you if you fold. I'll show you either way. I don't give a shit." I'm playing, I'm confident as shit, right? Nobody does this. You got to remember, in 05 up until 06, nobody did this. Nobody 3-bet the flop, bet the turn, moved all in, kamikaze. These are like, you've heard the Mike Matusow blow-ups. Well, this was a Mike Matusow blow-up before people had a name for him, really. And he folds, and I show him the 7 deuce offsuit, and he turned ghost white, literally ghost white. The whole table just fucking erupts, right? He had ace king, he folded, whatever. And I would have been out of the tournament. He would have been massive chip leader in the tournament. The rumor has it that Freddy was then seen in the bathroom 5 minutes later, literally puking, which I can't blame him. I'd be puking too, because his chance to win the World Series just went out the door. And then I kind of, cruised on into the final table. I was second or third in chips. There was 3 of us that knew how to play. There was Joe Hatcham, me, and Andy Black. Me and Joe had played on day 5 together, and we, good players understood you stay out of good players' ways. I knew that, me, Joe Hatcham, go fuck yourselves, guys, okay? And me and Joe Hatcham, we had tremendous respect for each other. We knew to stay out of each other's way. And same with me and Andy Black. We were all pretty good friends. I never once thought to myself, I'm going to win the World Series. I told the ESPN cameras, and I don't understand why they never aired this, but I told them, as long as I don't pick up kings versus aces against one of these clowns, there's no way I'm going to lose. And as you all know, I picked up kings versus aces, the second hand off the deck at the final table, and I was fine. I was already had my chips counted out. I had $1.5 million in chips left after the hand, which still put me average at the final table. It wasn't like I was short. My chips were all cut out. I was a little disappointed, but whatever. And then, lo and behold, the king flops, and I literally, I want to talk about when I hurt my back. Maybe I hurt my back in 05 because I jumped so fucking high. I literally hit the roof. And it was the first time in my life that I said, I'm going to win the World Series of Poker. Because I was going to have 80% of the chips 8-handed. And it was going to be hard for Andy Black or Joe Hatchen to beat me because I would never play a big pot against either one of them. And unless, I mean, I just had so many, would have had all the chips. And I'll never forget watching, there's 2 hearts on the flop. And then, you know, I'm sure you guys have seen this many times. And the heart comes on a turn. And I cringed when the heart came on the turn. And I ran to the corner with my best friend at the time, Matt Lefkowitz. And I'm like, I can't watch, right? And he was like, I'm like, just tell me what happens. And I hear everybody yelling, and I thought he said, you got it. But he said he got it. So now I jump up and down in the corner as high as I could in the corner with Matt, and you'll see this on ESPN many times. And I was another emotional rush where I thought I'd won and I didn't. And I was kind of, this devastated me because the Kings versus Ace didn't bother me. Just let's get the hand over. I'm focused. I'm ready to get back to the next hand, which I still was. I was fine. I paid it off. And I played fast. I maneuvered my chips. I raised, whatever. The next thing you know, I got $5 million in chips, whatever. And I'm in good shape. I mean, I'm like probably 4th in chips 9-handed, 5th still, 4th or 5th in chips 9-handed. Between hands, I kept thinking about the aces versus kings hand. It didn't affect my play, but when I was out of a hand, I would think about it. Now, it didn't have any effect on the rest of the tournament, but me as an emotional person, and you guys knowing who I am, knowing how emotional I am, I just wish it would have just been 4 blanks, pass the chips over, total focus. It was very hard for me to play when I wasn't in a hand because I kept thinking about the hand, which wouldn't have happened if a king hadn't flopped. But I was pretty focused. And Steve Danneman raised under the gun. I called. I had 2 10s and a big blind. The flop came deuce 3-5. And when he raised, I put him on like ace queen or ace king, actually. He had more tells than a busted Cheeto. That's all I have to say. I don't even know. That's a good comment. But he was like so easy to read. And my girlfriend's laughing. I don't even know. It was just like I just knew every time when he had a hand, didn't have a hand. I felt bad. He was an amateur, but he's such a nice guy. And me and Danneman are really good friends. I lead out real big. Just fucking fire right on out on the deuce 4-5, 3-5 board. Like, I just knew he has nothing, right? And he just like moves all in, right? And I get it, Danneman talking. I looked at him, I go, you got ace jack. You don't even have ace queen or ace king. You got shit, right? And he's trying to keep himself composed, but he's just having fun. He was an amateur businessman. You know, he didn't know, you know. And I just finally, like after 3 minutes, I was like, well, I just had to double check everything here. And, I know I have you beat. You got nothing. I call. And with my 2 10s from my tournament life. And, he turns over ace jack, and I'm just like, yes, you know, no ace, no jack, no ace, no jack. I'm not even thinking that a fucking gut shot 4 makes him a straight. All of a sudden, the 4 comes on the turn. He goes, yes, and I'm just like, I saw the straight, and now I know I'm drawing dead. And I'm just like, I was like in shock. Like, if we play that tournament 1,000 times from the final table, I might finish 9th once. That's the story of my life, by the way. That's when people used to always say, oh, you're the unluckiest player in poker. But, you know, luck, I always say down the road, you know, if you believe you're unlucky, you're going to be unlucky. If you believe you're going to win, you're going to win. You just have to be have a positive mindset. But so I was pretty devastated. I kept my composure for the interviews with ESPN, getting knocked out 9th. You know, I still got $1 million. It's not bad. I was in jail 3 months earlier, and now I'm out of jail with $1 million in my pocket. If you want to ask what happened to the $250 I won before I went to jail, that's for another show because it's pretty funny what happened to that before I went to jail. But so now I got $1 million. Pretty depressed though. I remember the ride home. I cried the entire ride home. Like, how can this happen? Oh my God! All I wanted to do was win the main event. So that goes 05. 06 really wasn't much. 07 was the year I played as bad as I could play. 06 was the year I tackled Mr. Peanut, I think, on the main floor, and I got a penalty for tackling Mr. Peanut. 07, I played really bad, gave my chips away, and I used to always take the main event so serious. It was like my whole life. Then we go to 08 main event. Here I am, another deep run. I never thought I'd ever have another deep run. Day 1, 2, and 3, I really got bad table draws. But back then, that was still before everybody was really good. Back then, a bad table draw to me was somebody when they didn't get people putting chips in the pot. I look back now and I say, God, I wish I can get some more of those bad table draws, which are basically where you're able to like open a lot of pots and kind of run open, and pick up blinds and antes. And that's what I basically did for 3 days. I never had one person give me a stack, and that was still when the main event was so juicy where everybody gave you a stack, and it's still like that. So, I just grinded and grinded and grinded. I finally had, I think day 3, somebody gave me the stack with like 7-6 offsuit, flopped a pair and just second pair and check raised me all in, and I had aces, and that was the only other time somebody gave me a stack. But we get into like day 5, and I went double, and the next thing you know, I look over and I had 3 million in chips. A key hand, of course, is I was there. It was me. Bill Hummus was there. Chino Ream was there, and this guy kept raising my blind. Right, I'm trying to get a read off him, right, and I'm looking for him to do something different because, like, I'm thinking to myself, why, this guy's he was a pretty tight player, and I just kept thinking that he's got to be having a hand against me, and I got to look for something. So finally, he puts his chips in different. I said, okay, I got him now, right? I had 10-5 of clubs, and he raised my blind. I moved in. It's 10-20,000. I move in for 500. He snap calls me. He has ace king. I flop a 5. I double up, and then I end up getting all of. It's pretty funny. I'm like, oh, okay. So all those times he was raising my blind, he had nothing, and the time that I finally picked up on something is when he had something. So I figured that out afterwards. But it was kind of funny. I look back at that 08 tournament, and that hand I doubled up, and then with about 5 tables left, I was finally over average in the main event. I never look at chips average. I'm never average in any tournament. So I was above average. If I would have played this hand before, like 2 seconds quicker, I would have got high carded to the Tiffany Michelle table that had literally a bunch of fucking idiots in it. And instead I got moved to the other table. So yeah, they played down to 3 that day. And which was like I was in tournament hell, I finished 30th. The hand I go broke with, pulse knee raise. I re-raise him big. He calls, and now I'm just like, wow. I mean, how can he have a real hand here? I know what I saw. So first flop comes 2 aces. I check, and he checks, and the turn comes a 9, and I bet. And he raises me all in, and I just like snap him because I just didn't think he had shit. And of course he had ace 9, and I ended up finishing 30th, and he's like high-fiving how he knocked me out, and I remember him and Daneman talking, oh, you got Mike, oh, ha, 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 and he was hee, ha, ha, and how he fucking got me with ace 9 versus ace jack. It was pretty upsetting. I got another shot to win the World Series, which I never thought I'd have another chance. So basically I had, we look back, from 2001, probably 2002, the guy doesn't hit a king, 2004, 2005, that's 5 shots, and now 2008. So 6 chances to really maybe win the World Series. I mean, you can't count the ace-king's hands in first level, but good luck to them in 2002, me having 540 big blinds after into level 2. But so that I would have had a good shot to win there, but who knows? So I had literally 4 shots. This is my 4th shot to win the main event, and people wait their whole lifetime. Like I haven't even cashed since that day. That's 11 years. That goes to show you how hard it is in the main event to go on deep runs. But I was blessed that I had 4 chances to win the main event. And so with the World Series of Poker, coming up, we're like 6 weeks out. I'm about ready. We're going to turn over to an interview we're about ready to do with a man who got it done, coming up here on the Mouthpiece.
Road Mouth.
We're trying to figure out, somebody delivered to me, looks like a tapia taco. They said table 31, seat 5, Mike.
One single
and
taco.
I did not order it. And it's kind of bizarre. We're trying to figure out where it came from. The magical taco. No. Magical taco. So.
Are you going to eat it?
No. Because I just ate.
Yeah, but somebody gifted you a taco. Thank you. And you're insulting them. You're slapping them in the face.
Fuck them. Fuck them. So we're going to, take a picture of this taco and we're tweeting it out. Alrighty, we have a bunch of voicemails. We're going to go to our voicemails and we're going to see what these people have to say and answer their questions. Let's hit the voicemails, sir.
Hey, this is the time traveler from Minnesota. I'm going after Phil Locke's longest marathon poker play record. Could use any hype for this event. Would it be appreciated? Kick some ass, Mike.
Phil Locke has a poker time record. Well, I guarantee you I've played longer than he has. It's just not documented. So my advice to you is, I don't know, maybe do drugs or something. How long do you have to play for? I don't know. Well, I wish you the best of luck, but you're going to need it. Happy time travels to you.
What's the biggest cooler you've been a part of, or the biggest cooler you've witnessed? And what's the saddest you've seen a poker player at? It could be at a casino anywhere.
All right. Well, the biggest cooler I think I ever witnessed was 2004 Limit Hold'em. Me, Syracuse Chris, and Carlos Mortensen's ex-wife Cece. It was like a cap 4-bet pot. I had aces. Back then, if you 4-bet, it's you always had aces. So, flop game, Queen 9-9, Syracuse Chris let out. I felt right then and there that he had queens full. I just did. CC called. I called. Turn card, comma, king. Syracuse Chris let out. CC called. I had my hand halfway in the muck, and I just said, well, four bets free, bet, nobody raised, maybe I'll get lucky, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. So I called. The river card comes an ace, and Syracuse Chris bets. CC raises. I re-raise. Syracuse Chris flips 2 queens face up in the air. And CC shakes her head and calls. And he had queens full on the flop. She turned kings full. And I rivered aces full. So that was the worst cooler I've probably ever seen, even though it wasn't these huge coolers you see in these nowadays. But anyways, the saddest was definitely me. If there's ever been anybody more sad after losing a poker tournament, I'd like to know who it was.
Hey, Mike, I'm a big fan of yours for a long time. Been following your career for a while now. And I have a question about regards to people calling cards when they're not in the hand or the action. Is this appropriate? Is it just me? I don't know. I think there's something wrong with that. They shouldn't be calling cards if they're not in the hand or in the action. I see this happening a lot. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, definitely nobody should be calling cards during the hand when the action is still going on. About a week ago over at the Win tournament, it went bet river call, and I said sixes full before the guy turned over his hand, and he turned over sixes full. But that was after the action was complete, and the guy looked at me and says, I don't like people who call my cards. I'm like, I know, I can't help it. I'm just that good. And we kind of laughed about it. But that was after the action was complete. I do agree with you 100%. Nobody should be calling cards or talking about cards or talking about what they had if the hits the board because they folded. It's a really bad thing to do. So I'm all with you on this, and it's bad for poker. It needs to stop.
Mike, I was calling to see what your biggest accomplishments have been in poker that you regard the top 3 of all time for yourself.
Okay, well, that's pretty easy. I mean, my number 1 used to always be when I beat Daniel Negreanu in the 02 Omaha 8 or better championship, because I consider myself the best in the world in Omaha 8, and he had a 5-1 chip lead. We were best friends. We were talking a lot of shit, and came back and won, and then we all went to dinner afterwards with me, him, his mom, my friends, and there was a lot of gloating going on, and he wasn't too happy, but it was fun. That was always my best one because I was detoxing from drugs. I had just like quit cold turkey and was like suicidal through the whole tournament. So I always consider it my number 1 accomplishment. But I think that my number 1 accomplishment now would be when I won NBC Head Up in 2013. I got into a zone. I played, I think, 3 coin flips in 6 matches when most people are playing 3 coin flips per match. So I really, really played my game and 100% deserved to win that tournament. So I'm going to go with NBC Head Up 2013, number 1, 2002 Omaha 8 or better championship, number 2, and the Tournament of Champions 05 after I had gotten knocked out 9th in the main event and then came back to win the Tournament Champions 3 months later for $1 million. I was always, if you see the video, saying vindication. I was really, really proud of myself. I really wanted to win that. So I really believe in poker. If you play hungry, play with a purpose, you're going to have a better chance of winning than when you just show up and you're flush with money and your head's not into it. So anyway, thanks for the questions. Thanks for the call.
Questions, Mikey. It's a difficult situation right now. If I had a question for you right now, it'd probably be like, what is the current state of poker? Because I feel like poker has never been fucking worse in my entire life. You got these cocksuckers like Daniel Negreanu, big fucking dickbag, fucking pontificating and preaching to people on fucking Twitter, you know? Honestly, Twitter is a fucking blessing and a curse in a way, like, it really is. I don't know, man. It's a pity I can't fucking talk to you right now, but I don't really have it around. So I'm just pissed off at poker. Like, it just fucking sucks. Alright, put out that fucking podcast, lad. Much love. Respect.
Thanks for the call. That's pretty funny. No, I'm gonna be talking a lot about the state of poker here in the next couple weeks. About 1.5 years, 2 years ago, I kind of put out on somebody's podcast the state of poker, and I felt like it was really in a bad spot, and that it's kind of all a facade. People seeing all these these record-breaking entries with re-entries and in tournaments, but the state of poker is not good right now, especially in the cash games. I mean, 9 out of 10 people you talk to, they all say they're broke. So they're choking the shit out of poker, and there needs to be a fix to it. I'll be talking about it a lot in the next few weeks, but thanks for the call, and it was kind of funny. Bye.
The Mouthpiece.
If you'd like to take part in our phone call segment, you can give us a call at 702-329-0480. And if you're a snowflake or a pussy and you don't want to talk to me, you can email me at mouthpiecepodcast@gmail.com. Also, follow me at the Matusow on Twitter for times that our call-in segment will be live. You and Tony Miles seem so tired at the end of the final table. Do you think the World Series of main event is an endurance contest? It may not be fair to the older players like me, especially with my back problems. There's a reason why Sexton bets every year against 40-year-olds making the final table. What's your opinion on that?
It definitely is some sort of endurance contest. Like, I remember my first deep run when I got 11th. Like, my mind was just jello.
Yeah.
So and that was me, 2.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I was in, prime shape or anything, but I was definitely younger then. So I think it definitely hurts everybody. Probably, I would assume it hurts some people more than others. I'd like to know, how many older people are entering, because it's kind of you say that you never see a girl make the final table, but it's also you also just don't have as many girls registering, so that chances are that they don't make final table. So I'm sure it's some sort of combination of.
Yeah, I actually saw the breakdown a year ago, but the people from the age of 40 to 65 made up, if I'm not mistaken, 40% of the field, which I was really shocked at. And then followed by ages 20, to 30, and 30 to 40, and then women taking up the least amount. I understand that. But I did see, 2 years ago, where a 72-year-old man made the final table and a 59-year-old man made the final table. And I was thinking to myself, how in the fuck did they make 8 days through? Because I'm like you. My mind's like jello after 3-4 days of no limit hold'em tournament, which is why I play all the mixed games at the World Series, and I don't play any no limit tournaments except for the main event and maybe the 5K and a shootout. I play usually 2 no limit tournaments during the World Series every year, because it just takes so much out of you. People just don't understand.
Yeah, I really do think for me it was a big advantage to have gone deep just 2 years ago.
Right.
To know what it was going to be like, day 6 and day 7.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely have adrenaline that'll keep you going and keep you awake. But I do think having been through that was huge.
Yeah. I had Matt Savage on my first podcast last week, and we discussed a lot about structures and time. And he does, as he does all his tournaments. Basically, you play noon till 8:30, no dinner break every day. And I'm a big proponent of this. I think dinner breaks are a waste of time. They get you off your game. You eat, you get tired, you make mistakes. What's your opinion on that?
I think I'm in favor of it.
Yeah,
I don't know which one's better for everybody else, but
right.
I definitely like the no break, because I don't really eat during dinner anyway, because
me neither. I take Adderall, so I can't fucking eat. So it's like I have to force myself to eat something.
Oh, really? No, after the tournament's done, I'll eat I'll eat everything. But during the tournament, I remember 2 years ago when I made my 11th place run, it was like at a crucial moment, and I just had to go to the bathroom so bad.
Right.
And since then, I was like, okay, I just won't eat during the tournament.
I've been in that spot. It's not fun.
yeah. So that's the reason that I don't eat. So I like it better, and I think the longer break definitely helps at the end of the day, so that it's not like you just have to take care of some stuff, go to bed, wake up, and play again right away. Like you actually have some time to go do some things and take care of some stuff. So
well, that's what people don't understand. I have this like regiment. I don't know what yours is. I'll ask you, but like during the World Series, I play mostly mixed games, but so I'm always playing the late starts. It start at 3. I usually show up at 5, and then they go to like 2 a.m. And I tell people, what do you do? How do you unwind and get sleep? Because you got to be back at 2 in the afternoon. So I get out of the car. I drive my little scooter up to the valet. I have my car up top. I get my car. I jump in. I take a sleeping pill, a Klonopin, before I even get home. Now, the second I get home, I lay down. I take a couple of hits of some pot to help put me to sleep. I just learned what pot was, by the way, 2 years ago. I mean, I used to do all the drugs back in the day, but I could never smoke pot because it made me paranoid. But this girl taught me to get these certain strands that'll help you go to sleep. So, and then boom, by 2:45, I'm sleeping. Now I'm getting 8 hours, 9 hours sleep, and that's where it's really helped me a lot. If you don't sleep at the World Series, you're fucked. Do you agree?
Yeah, it's pretty important to try and get some sleep. During the later days, it gets tough, but you got to try.
Yes, yeah. Well, once you get to day, because I've been there a couple times, but once you get to 6, 7, I mean, you get through with adrenaline. I mean, even though your mind's starting to waste away, you get through with adrenaline. But I was a little worried about you and Tony Miles last year. That was a marathon. I mean, wow. To keep your head like you did, kudos to you. I mean, you both did, really. It was really amazing to watch. You almost felt bad for whoever the loser was going to be. It was so grueling. One of those World Series final tables that I will remember for a long time. And, it's so funny. Poker Twitter on the main event final table is like the greatest day of the year. Everybody's analyzing everybody's hand and what they should have done different and how he played that. And it's so funny, but listen, I went out on the limb. I thought you played fantastic. I thought once like you were saying, the chips got so big, so that kind of everybody had to push them forward, so that took away whatever tells you had. And I loved your adjustment of limping the button and controlling the pot. And once you started,
that one actually I have to credit to Jungle. I would have never known to do that. I never. Wow. This was the first tournament I've ever won. I've never really played 2-3-handed before, so I didn't know how to. If someone's 3-betting me every hand in a ring game, I know how to adjust to that. But
correct.
Heads up, it's a little bit tougher for me. So
and it's great that Jungle thought of that, because I was thinking that to myself. I'm like, if this guy keeps 3-betting, and now the fact that he doesn't, I noticed that the tell was gone that I had seen, so I figured somebody once Phil had to run his mouth on national TV, they got aware of it. And so now when he started 3-betting you and you weren't able to really pick up on what you were picking up on before, then you started limping the button. And I'm convinced that, and props to Jungle for that, that that was the change of the match, because now he didn't know what to do. Now he's playing a lot more pots out of position, but smaller pots. So it really changed the game. I think, without a doubt, you starting to limp the button definitely won you the tournament. I agree.
Yeah, for sure. That was definitely a crucial point.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. So, I'm the last one who probably jumped in to get you on a podcast. You've probably been on 1,000 of them, and I get you on here while you're in on it. What's going on in Miami on a Monday? What's today? Tuesday now. What's going on a Tuesday? What are you doing tonight? How many girls you got lined up? What's going on? Let's go. Let's shoot this shit.
Tonight, none.
None. Okay, everybody. John Cynn's got no girls tonight. If you want, it's 1-800 World Champion, and John Cynn will be happy to meet you out tonight in Miami.
Yeah, we just had a relaxing night, order some dinner. We may or may not go out tonight. I don't know. We're all pretty pooped. So
have you found here's a good question. Have you found yourself partying a lot more this year after winning the tournament than you did the year before? Or are you just consistent, party a lot, party a little? Do you party a lot?
Yeah, I definitely party. I've definitely been partying way more since the main, and I think part of it's the money, but part of it is definitely, this is the most traveling I've done in my life, and when I travel, I like to go out. I like to meet people and party and stuff like that. So I think that's a big factor in it also.
Do you travel because you're traveling to different tournaments? Are you traveling because people are paying you to show up for their tournament? Why is the traveling so much more?
I haven't had too many offers to get paid to travel.
What the fuck?
What's that?
I said, what the fuck? How's that possible?
Yeah, I'll get some small offers here and there, but mostly I'll travel to a tournament if it's going to be like really big,
right?
And it's in a cool location. If it hits those two factors, I'll definitely go to the tournament. Otherwise, I definitely love to travel just for fun too. Actually, before I won the main, I had moved all my stuff out, and I was moving to my friend's place in Vegas, and my plan was just to be on the road for a year and just travel the world for a year. So it was definitely within the plans.
Yeah, that's about when I started traveling. Let's see, 2006 was when I started. I was when I was with Full Tilt, and we were told to travel everywhere. So that's 13 years ago. So I was 38. So yeah, that's you're 34. It's a good time to start traveling, and it's fun. Like I traveled to places I never in my life could have ever thought that I'd ever see. And you probably feel the same way, and you kind of appreciate it a little bit, right?
Yeah, for sure. Traveling, ever since I started playing poker, traveling is something that I've tried to put in my schedule, but always felt like I needed to do it more. So really, really excited to be on the road a lot. That's good. Enjoy it, because there's going to be a time where all of a sudden you're going to tell yourself, I'm sick of packing. I'm sick of going through airports. This is like, I just want to chill at home. It's going to happen. Trust me, because I was the same way as you. I'm like, oh, where are we going next? Germany, Austria, where Australia. I was like, okay, where next? And it was fun. But then I was like, damn, I'm so sick of packing and unpacking. And then I ended up like staying home for a couple of years. But yeah, that's really great. And since you're traveling a lot for leisure, it makes sense that you're out partying and having a good time. So that's good, man. You deserve it. And I'm really happy for you. I don't know you well. I know you're a good guy. Everybody says you're a good guy.
I know you're probably gonna. I hope your plans are to get the partying out of the way and get yourself focused and maybe pick up another bracelet at the World Series this year. You know, that'd be nice. Whether it's main event, any event. You know.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I've definitely bricked most of the tournaments I've played since then. So
well, that's supposed to happen because you're I tell people all the time, the most dangerous poker player is the hungry player, and when you're struggling for money and you're hungry, those are the people to watch out. I know that because when I had money and was doing well, I would brick every tournament because my mind would be like, hey, I want to go out. I want to go out here with my friends. It was real tough to get super focused for a tournament after when I used to have just like $1 million win or a $500,000 win. I mean, I can't even imagine like winning the main event, how tough it is to sit down in a tournament and really focus. Have you found it to be a little bit tougher? Yeah,
a little bit. And obviously, you know, that's a fault of my own. But it was getting to the point where I was, you know, for a while I was jumping in every tournament that I thought was going to be good value. Mm-hmm. And then there was a point of realization of I'm just lighting money off fire. At one point I was like, I'm just lighting money off fire. I only need to play when I want to play, and when I play I need to make sure I try to play good.
You're so right.
So there was a point where I was like, okay, let's stop playing for a little bit and come back, go play again when it seems fun again. So
yeah, you know, I tell my girlfriend this all the time. She's like, "You're a professional poker player. How do you go and make those mistakes?" That I blew up.
Yeah, you would think it'd be easy, you know, like you know how to play poker. You just show up, just play your A game. You know, you think it'd be easy, but it's just not.
It's not.
Like sometimes you just bring your C or D game, and you know that's how it goes.
And what makes poker so amazing is like Ted Forrest told me this many years ago. It's like everybody compares their A game to your F game because they see you have those C, D, and E and F days, and they think, oh, that guy sucks. That's how people like say, oh, I'm playing with this guy, he sucks, or I'm playing with this guy, and then you end up realizing, well, I'm having a bad day, and that idiot over there that I thought was all the value is I'm the value now for him. And I've been there, so I know what you're talking about. And you know, things have been a little bit tough for me since I had my injury about 4 years ago. But so I try and bring it every day, put my heart and soul in it. And when you do that, whether you have results or not, I end up walking away from a tournament most of the time saying, I played really, really good. Just things didn't happen well for me. I ride myself hard in poker. I'm sure you do. You know, a good poker, I tell people all the time, good poker players know every hand they make a mistake. You don't need to tell them. You agree with that?
I mean, when I know I'm making a mistake, sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't know.
Sometimes you don't know. Those are things that you got to learn through time.
Sometimes you got to gamble.
Sometimes you do have to gamble. And I noticed that, like, when I always had a lot of money, I had no problems, like, making the check raise big, and then they call, and then I'm like, fuck, he's going to call anyways, but I ship it. Just knowing the only way I can win the pot. And then I'm like, he's tanking. I'm like, he's calling. I'm such an idiot. And then they call, and you walk out the door, and you're like, okay, that was fun. I'm sure you've done that many times.
For sure.
So, anyways, I'm going to let you go because I know you have things to do. Enjoy your week in Miami. Get yourself ready for the World Series. You deserve it. Have some fun. And I really appreciate you coming on the Mouthpiece and talking with me. So.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. John, be safe, my friend.
The Mouthpiece.
I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of The Mouthpiece. Stay tuned next week where we will be interviewing Poker Hall of Famer and current ambassador of Party Poker, Mr. Mike Sexton. If you have any questions for Mike, you can call us at 702-329-0480 and leave a message, or you can email us at mouthpiecepodcast@gmail.com. And we'll look forward to seeing you here next week on The Mouthpiece.
The Mouthpiece.